Hello, everybody. I'm so sorry for those of you who are just tuning into me. I had to end the stream because I've had some issues connecting to my Facebook page this morning, and it wasn't working properly. So anyway, I think we're all good now. So my apologies. Fiona Lukeis coming to you live on this Friday, the 11th of October. I am live currently on Facebook and YouTube. So anyone out there who can hear me, let me know that if you can hear me on my Facebook page, I would really appreciate it, just to make sure it's working properly. And obviously, if there's anyone out there on YouTube land, feel free to say hi. Sorry that I had to end that, but we're all good to go now. So, if you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below. And obviously, if you have a question that you would like me to answer, pop it in the comments below. If you're just coming on Facebook, if you could let me know that you can hear me through my page, that would be really great. I've had a couple of technical difficulties this morning with Facebook. All right. So as always, on these Friday lives, I like to share with you what has been coming up through my client work with my students, what I'm noticing out there in the world with people, because it generally means that other people are sharing or dealing with a similar situation or problem. And of course, I have my questions that have been sent through, so I will go through those in a moment. But like I was saying, if you're just coming on board, and I can see a few people joining now, just let me know that you can hear me okay, especially on my Facebook page. Had a few technical issues with that this morning. All right. So, I just want to say, there's a lot going on in the world right now, and I don't often acknowledge things like that. I just try and stay focused on the questions and what people need to hear. But I just want to say there's been a lot going on in the world. I've had a number of students, clients, etc. in Florida dealing with Hurricane Milton and Hurricane Helen, and that's had a big impact on them. So my heart's with you, and obviously with anybody who's dealing with what's going on in Israel, Gaza right now. My hearts are there as well. It's a lot of challenging things going on in the world, and hence why what we talk about here is even more important. It's easy to get despondent and feel in despair about some of the decisions that are being made and the way people are showing up, and we do need, and I'm going to keep saying this loud and clear until there is no breath left in my body, we need people showing up from a space of love and kindness and compassion more than ever in the world. More than ever in the world, we need this. So, that's going to be a big part of, well, it always is. It's a big part of who I am, what I teach, the space that I come from. And it's going to be a big part of my message today. Please don't let what's going on in the world get you down. Love has the highest vibrational and most powerful vibrational frequency there is. And it doesn't mean that you have to be a doormat or you don't address things. But when we come from a space of love, we are way more powerful than when we're coming from a place of disempowerment and disappointment and anger and frustration and all of those things. So, hey, Shani, thank you for letting me know you can hear me loud and clear. That's great to hear. And anyone else out there, if you want to say hi, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, honey. Oh, dear. Technical stuff just really isn't my thing. I need a full-time techie person just dealing with technology for me. That would make my life so much easier. Okay, so coming up to today's questions. Where are we? Now, there's a few here, so I will do my best to get through as many as I can today. Okay. All right. Okay, so first question. This is back from September 27. All right, so just so you guys know, I'm dealing with a question from September 27, and then I'll be moving forward to whatever questions come through to bring us up to today's date. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to shorten this a little bit because it's a little on the long side. But so just for those of you who do send me a question, if you send me one through my email address, hello@fionalukeis.com.au, that's a great place to send me questions. Just try to keep them to no more than a paragraph and a half, absolute max. Okay. It's just too long to read out live. It doesn't work so well. Hi, Fiona. Thank you for all the work you do. I've been studying personal development and human behavior in my own time for over a decade now, with not much to show for it, but a brain full of information that left me overwhelmed, overstimulated, and confused. Wow, can I relate to that statement? I absolutely relate to that statement so much. That was exactly how I felt. I'd done a lot of personal development, studied many things, which I found fascinating and interesting, but it left me with a brain full of information and a lot of overwhelm as well. So I really do relate to that. And I want you to know that statement is a statement I hear often, okay? I really do. I hear it often. And I think that's because as human beings, we do get caught up in, and I certainly did for a long time, the belief that change comes from lots of information. And believe me, obviously we need to be learning and growing. I am a lifelong learner. I will always be learning. I will never stop being a student. I love being a student of life, of people, of all sorts of things. But there are two different ways to learn. And I didn't learn this till later on in life. I wish I'd learned this when I was much younger. We can learn via input of knowledge. So that's gathering information, reading, attending things like, you know, that kind of a thing. Or we can learn, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not dissing that at all. I've read many things, attended many programs, studied all sorts of things, and traveled to different countries to do so. I'm a big believer in investing in yourself, and I have very much invested in myself over the years. So in terms of learning and growth and all of those things. But there is also a difference between input of knowledge and revealing wisdom and insight. And they come from two very different places. So when you're learning via an input of knowledge, this is generally more so via your personal, intellectual, logical mind. And obviously that's a very helpful thing, especially when we're studying to become a doctor or to, you know, to have an end result in terms of maybe we're studying engineering or architecture or whatever, the gazillions of things are out there to study. But when it comes to emotional intelligence, when it comes to the expansion of insight, wisdom, fresh thinking, clarity of mind, there's a very different style of learning required. Logical input style learning will get you so far, but only so far. Whereas insight, wisdom-based learning where you are uncovering wisdom, where you are getting access to thinking you've never accessed before, where you are in a higher level of awareness. And in a higher level of awareness, we have access to a loving frame of mind, way more loving frame of mind. The higher our level of awareness, the less we are away from our ego-centered mind, where we get very stuck in self-righteousness and rigidity and control and defensiveness and all of those things that are not great for our relationships and not great for our own emotional and mental well-being, okay? It's where our world tends to get smaller. But when we're accessing a higher level of consciousness or a higher level of awareness and our minds and brains are expanding, we are naturally getting access to what's already there, right? It's like you're uncovering what already is rather than trying to change yourself into something, okay? So I guess the difference is when you're dealing with knowledge or input-based learning, and this is very important when it comes to our relationships. Like it truly is, guys. When you're dealing with knowledge and input-based learning, and this is when we can overthink. This is when we will defend minutiae. This is where it's difficult for us to expand our mind, expand our heart space. We will defend our reality. We will defend and get very adversarial. It becomes about being right. It becomes about winning. It becomes about making a point. It becomes about having an opinion. And I'm not saying that that's not okay from time to time, but if that's your main kind of modus operandi, it is very detrimental for the level of connection that you create with someone else, the level of respect that you generate from another human being. So this is important, just as important in the workplace as it is. And it's just as important when it comes to how we parent, okay? So our relationship with our children. So when we're operating from a place of wisdom and we are looking in the direction of insight-based change, that's a whole different ballgame, whole different. It's simpler, it's easier, it's lighter, it's more emotionally freeing. And, when we have access to that, whole different way of dealing with difficulties opens up. It's like you start to see things in a way you've never seen them before. That gives you access to different types of thinking. It gives you access to different levels of understanding. It gives you access to the ability to let go and put things down. It really does. And a lot of people can't, it's very hard to kind of, get a grasp of that until you have had a direct experience of it for yourself. Wisdom is one of those things that you can't intellectually learn. You have to learn by having a direct experience of it. But when you do, it changes everything. It's an amazing feeling, because all of that rigid ego-based thinking starts to fall away. And that's very, very good for our human. Very good for our human. So I'm just going to finish this question. So what you teach and the methods you use to teach has me finally feeling at ease and empowered. I love how simple it really is. I've listened to all your podcasts, which prompted me to buy your ebook and start listening to your Facebook Lives. Understanding that our thoughts create our reality and no two people experience the same reality is a game changer. I've read books by Dr. Wayne Dwyer and Eckhart Tolle, but their teachings never hit home like it has since listening to you. Oh, thank you very much. That's really, 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 that's very nice of you to say. Okay, so my question is, I understand that it's our thoughts that create our reality and determine our feelings. I just want to know if we can't change or control our thoughts, and how it is that we create better feelings from a positive or desirable reality. That's a question that would take me quite some time to answer. It's actually an easy answer, but in order for it to land, that would take me a little while to answer. Now, I guess I would say to you, if you really want to know the answer to that, do my program Relatable. I teach this from top to bottom inside of that program, and we have lots of conversations about it on the live Q&As that I have with my students, and we go to a much, much deeper level than I could ever possibly give justice to in a Friday Live like this. Like, if that's something that you really want, and I believe you me, understanding that is the greatest, most empowering thing that has ever happened to me, and I am still learning and having insights and understandings about that each and every day, some 14 years down the track since I really started learning and discovering this. So I would say to anyone who really wants a deeper understanding, please just go and do my program Relatable. It's amazing. I teach you everything via in every module. It's a 9-week program. Each module it's just a different level of this, and it's just layers and layers of understanding, pointing you towards insight-based change, realizations, fresh thinking, and a whole new way of seeing the world without all of that mental load. So if that's something that you would really want to learn, that is the best place to learn it. That is where I teach this. You get 12 months access to the program. You can attend as many live Q&As as you wish. I run 2 of them a week on Monday mornings and Wednesday evenings. Monday morning's call is great for those of you in the US and Canada because it's Sunday evening. Wednesday night call is great for those of you in the UK and Europe because it's Wednesday mornings for you guys. So I run them twice a week to cater for the 2 different time zones, and that's twice a week you get a chance to get your questions answered over 12 months. There is no other program out there that offers as much of that opportunity that I know of anyway. So if you really want to know the answer to that, if you really want to change the way you show up, if you want to be more in control of your emotions, understand how to really regulate yourself, let go of the past, put down mental load, be present, lighter, have that real sense of emotional freedom, everything I teach in Relatable gives you the answers to that and points you in that direction. And we have the most incredible community of people. We really do. It is just becoming more and more and more beautiful, that program. Each and every call, each and every week. I cannot explain to you how beautiful it is. So if you want to know more about that, you can book a chat with me at the end of today's live, and I can teach you more about it. So it's not that one thing I will say in regard to this question, it's not that if you can't change or control your thoughts, and how is it that we create better feelings or a positive or desirable reality? We do that via understanding how things work. When you understand how things work, you stop resisting your experience. People are resisting their experience all the time. They're trying to change their thinking, manage their thinking, fix their thinking. They don't even know that they're doing it, right? They don't even know that they're doing it. It's so automated that they're doing it. So they're in resistance to a lot of things. And it's a resistance that you don't even realize you're doing because it's so normalized. And so the more deeply you understand how we create our reality and how we do it is exactly the same. It is for everybody. Yes, we express ourselves differently, but how we create it is the same. When you have a deep understanding of that, you won't even need to ask that question. That's probably the best I can do on this Friday Live in the time that I have. Okay. Shani, did I say that? Okay, thank you for your comment, darling. Jack, how do you deal with an emotionally unavailable husband? Every talk about anything, I'm met with defensive anger. Hey, Jack, great question. I guess it just, first of all, it depends on a few things. Depends on how much goodwill there is between the two of you. So if there's a high level of goodwill, you would be amazed at the kinds of conversations that are possible, even with someone who you might say is emotionally unavailable. I used to think my husband was very emotionally unavailable. I used to call him Silo Sam. I really did. My husband's name is Sam. He'd go into his own little emotional silo and just disappear in there. That's literally what I used to call him. And I wasn't necessarily met with defensive anger. I was met with a lot of shutdown, a lot of just wanting to skim over the surface, a lot of not wanting to really talk about things, a lot of just hoping I would feel better and then we could move on, which used to frustrate me and drive me crazy. But, you know, the difference since I've come across this understanding is I'm very aware in a way I never, ever was before, and I never had capacity to understand before. I'm aware of the space I'm showing up. I'm aware of what I'm generating. And I think for many of us, we often approach a conversation like that and we're already really loaded, okay? So when I say loaded, we're already in our minds thinking, oh God, here we go again. I'm going to have this conversation. He's just going to get angry and shut down. What's the point, right? Or we're filled with a sense of dread. We're treading on eggshells. So we're already in the energy of this is going to be difficult and this is going to be hard. Or maybe as well, you know, the other kind of thing is that when you're dealing with someone who's I guess you've gotten into a habit of not talking about things. Maybe you're at that point where you're feeling anxious and worried and you're feeling like they don't really care, and you know what I mean? So you're already in a heightened state of mind. And so and maybe that means that you're then trying to talk about things often. And so there's just been this dread coming from him of like, oh, here we go again. Perhaps like without knowing your situation, I'm just trying to give you an idea of what is often going on behind the scenes. You know, I was speaking with someone this morning. She had a chat with me. She was really interested in joining my Relatable program, and she said to me, you know, Fiona, my partner doesn't talk. He tends to shut down and not have conversations with me. And I used to believe that, you know, a person who really cared or loved me would want to talk to me, like they would want to communicate with me, that we should be talking about stuff. They should be able to sit down and talk about everything. But I've realized since reading your ebook, listening to your podcasts, and she said, now I want to go to the next level, is that I have been caught up in my reality and I've been expecting him to be just like me. And whenever I do that, I come from a place of anxiousness. I come from a place of defensiveness. I come from a place of worry. And that just is causing a ripple effect in him. And she said, I'm really learning. And she said, I know I've got a ways to go. And that's why I want to kind of go to the next step. But I know that how I'm showing up is having a really big impact on what I'm being met with. And then I've got this idea in my head of what I think is wrong or what he needs to change. and I'm constantly thinking about it. And she said, I can see now that that's really affected our level of connection and our ability to communicate. She said, I've already made some changes and I'm noticing that he's more relaxed around me. So you'd be amazed. And I'm not trying to say, like, some of you listen to me when I say this and think that I'm trying to put blame or fault on someone. I'm really not. Okay. I don't even believe in blame and fault. What I believe in is when there's enough understanding, there is no conflict. What I believe in is giving people enough opportunity to have a different understanding of something. Because when we do, we show up differently. We generate something different. We're in a different feeling. We generate a different level of connection. This is the power that human beings have. And it's true, just as true for men as it is women. And so when you actually really see the truth of that, it's amazing how much thinking that you carry around. And that's what this lady said to me this morning. She said, Fiona, I realized I've had all of this anxious, worried, defensive thinking that's just always there. And she said, and I see now why I can go there so quickly, because that's my baseline. And I want to change my baseline and see what's possible for us. And I thought that was so cool that she saw that already just from reading my ebook and, listening to a few of my Facebook Lives. I thought that was really cool. So there's something very empowering when you go, there's something that when I'm like, I want to make sure that I'm showing up in the best way possible, and then we'll see what that generates in the other person. Now, I understand, I really do want to say this, you might do that, okay? You might show up, you might learn this, you might show up the best way possible, and maybe it doesn't generate the change that you're looking for in the other person. Now, that, I guess, can happen. It's more the exception than the rule. But for those of you who are yeah-butting, because I know there are people out there who love to yeah-butt, and that's okay. The beautiful thing, or not the beautiful thing, I guess the freeing thing about that, if that is the situation you're in, is you get to a point and you go, you know what? I know without a shadow of a doubt, I've done everything I could. I know that I've shown up this best way I can. I know that I've gotten over myself. I've let go of the past. I've put things down. I know this so deeply to be true within myself that I can now make a decision on what's best for me, because I know I've kind of gone down every pathway, so to speak, within myself. I think that is such an important place to get. And I don't think there are many people out there that could honestly look themselves in the eye and say that they've done that. If you learn this understanding, you absolutely will be able to 100% hand on heart say that. And it means that even if you do end a relationship, you do from a place of ease, you do from a place of understanding, you do from a place of knowing, you do from a place of empowerment, and you're actually able to move forward in your life without all of the residue that people drag around with them and then take into their next relationship or their next situation or their next whatever. Okay, so this is a very empowering, freeing place to live your life from, irrespective of what happens. So let me know if this is making sense or this helps. What I would suggest to you, Jack, and thanks for asking that question, because a lot of people do, is everything starts with you, right? Everything starts with us. I would say the same thing to your husband if I was speaking to him, by the way. So make sure that you're neutral. Make sure that you're not showing up from a place of frustration, upset. You're already waiting for him to handle things a certain way. Make sure that there's playfulness and goodwill and good feelings between the two of you, right? Because I find that when there are, people communicate well. They do. They communicate a lot better. So, but if how you guys have been showing up to each other, where it's been through a lot of criticism or frustration or negativity or lack or all of those things, and this is where you've got to be honest with yourself. Ask yourself, and everyone needs to ask themselves this question. When was the last time you sat in a place of gratitude and appreciation for the person in your life? Okay, I can't tell you how important that is. When was the last time you sat in the feeling of that? I can honestly hand over heart say that wasn't something I did very often, because I had a lot of disappointed thinking around my husband. Okay, now that has definitely changed. We are celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary, not next week, the week after. So very excited about that. We're going to going to Uluru. Very excited to be doing that with him. But I am very much now, very often in a place of gratitude and appreciation. And not because I need him to be a certain way. I have a gratitude and an appreciation of our differences. I see them as opportunities for me to learn and for him. And I see them as places, as a space where I can get really curious and learn something else. So I don't see them as something that's wrong or missing, which I very much used to. I very much used to see it from that way. So I would often come from a place of disapproval, negativity, and not even realize I was doing it. So, and then what happens is we inadvertently bring out the worst in each other instead of the best. And that's another thing you want to think about. You don't really know what a relationship is capable of until you are bringing out the best in each other. A lot of people fall into the trap, I guess, of bringing out the worst in each other and not realizing that that's what they're actually doing. That was a huge thing for me to see all those years ago, that I'd been bringing out the worst. I'm not saying it was my fault, and there was something I could do to impact that I'd been bringing out the worst in my husband because of the place I was showing up from. And it was very empowering when I realized that. So these are things that I would really sit with, reflect on, give yourself a chance to really think about. And if you want to know more, this is all that I teach and then some inside of Relatable, okay? It really is. We talk about this stuff and everything else over 12 months. Shani, hello, darling. Oh, I've got to put this comment up there because I so appreciate that. Thank you, honey. I've been with the Relatable program for almost 2 years and highly, highly, highly recommend it. Oh, no, highly, highly, not highly, 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 just highly, highly recommend it. Changed and improved my life and relationships beyond any expectations. Oh, thank you, darling. I so appreciate that. That's very kind. That's very kind of you. Okay, so let me get to the next question. If anyone's got a question about what I've been saying, let me know and I will happily answer it for you. Okay. Hi, Fiona. I'd love to hear your guidance on rebuilding trust in romantic relationships. Well, yeah, sure. No worries. Well, I guess when it comes to rebuilding trust, the first place you have to start with, okay, is emotional trust. There's got to be emotional trust. Without emotional trust, you got nothing. All right. There's got to be that emotional trust. In other words, are my emotions safe with you? Is the other person's emotions safe with me? Right. These are things that are very, very important. Now, the big thing that erodes emotional trust is the fact that people do not know how to deal with each other's frailties very well. Now, one of the things that you have to understand is that everybody has frailties. Everybody has. It doesn't matter who you're in a relationship with. You could break up with your partner tomorrow, meet the love of your life. You would still have to deal with their frailties, all right? Because that is just part and parcel of being human. And the one thing people don't do very well is deal with their own and somebody else's frailties. Again, if you want to know about that, I talk about that, teach this in my Relatable program. But this is the thing that erodes emotional trust, because people take each other's frailties very personally. They judge each other's insecurities. So a frailty is like an insecurity. So, for example, with Jack, when she's saying, you know, every time I want to talk about anything, I'm met with my husband's frailties, right? That's what she's dealing with. His defensive anger. That's him in an insecure frame of mind. That's his frailty. Now, again, Jack's going to have her own. I have my own. My husband has his. Like I said, it doesn't matter who you're in a relationship with. You spend enough time with someone, you'll come up against their frailties. Now, if you don't know how to navigate your own frailties very well, so in other words, let's just say you get angry quickly, or you shut down quickly, or you get anxious quickly, or resentful quickly, or whatever, right? Any of those things, if you're not dealing with that very well, then your capacity to deal with somebody else's is going to be greatly, greatly diminished. Can you see that? That you've got to know how to deal with your own, because learning how to deal with your own is going to give you everything that you need to be able to deal with somebody else's. And so, when people learn the understanding that I teach in Relatable, one of the things that starts happening is they become a lot more comfortable in their own skin. A lot more comfortable in their own skin. Now, being comfortable in your own skin means that you don't feel so defensive of yourself. You don't feel that you have as much to hide. You don't feel that you have as much to justify. People who are not comfortable in their own skin tend to feel like they have to hide. They're defensive. They go into justification mode quite easily. I did that quite easily. And even though I'd done a gazillion programs and different things, that was still something I was struggling with within myself. And I can honestly say, hand over heart, with this understanding, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm certainly not. But my capacity to regulate my emotions, to deal with my insecurities and my frailties is unparalleled to where it was. And that means I get to show up the way I really want to with the people I care about. And I put things down and I let things go. And I really do. It's not like I'm pretending to and I'm seething. I'm able to authentically let something go. And to me, that is what true emotional freedom is. And I think what happens in relationships is that people stop letting things go. They start dragging around what happened last month, last year, last decade with them. And they plonk it in and they do what I call evidence gathering. And when they've got enough evidence, they gather all the stuff from the past, all the issues, and plonk them into the current argument, and it just blows things up. Okay. So in order to rebuild trust, number one, you've got to know how to deal with your own frailties, and then you've got to know how to deal with somebody else's. You've got to know how to get over yourself. You've got to be comfortable in your own skin, because when you do, you show up from a lighter, calmer, more playful way, right? We don't take things so personally. People who are comfortable in their own skin are way more playful and lighthearted than people who are not. We're more compassionate, understanding. I kind of enjoy it. It just feels better. It's so good for your well-being. So if you want to know how to do that, that's what you got. That's where it starts. And to me, that is the labor of love, right? Is learning how to do that. That's the labor of love. You do that because you love someone. It's like, I want to be good at this stuff because I love this person and I want to bring my best foot forward. This is my best friend. This is the mother of my children, the father of my children, my partner, my whatever. I want them to have the best of me, not the worst of me. And, I see this a lot with people, that the best of them gets given to people at work, to friends, to family members, and then the people that they care about get what's left over. It's a pretty common thing that I see. So if you want to rebuild emotional trust in a romantic relationship, and really in any relationship, okay, you've got to know how to deal with your own frailties. You've got to know how to get over yourself, and you've got to know how to let things go, be comfortable in your own skin. That's the start of it, because when people show up that way, they are an emotionally safe place, and they generate emotional safety for other people. And when people feel safe, what happens? They relax. The best of them comes out, right? They don't have to be on guard. They don't have to be defensive. So you need to create emotional safety. Now, it is much easier to do so than you think. It really is. And it feels amazing. As someone who wasn't very good at it, I love the fact that I am able to do that. I feel proud of myself for being able to do that. It feels good. And so it's good for my self-esteem as well, right? It's a win-win for both people. So again, I teach all of that inside of Relatable. All right, everybody. Well, I think that's it for me for today. I've got a meeting with my editor, because my book is really moving fast, full steam ahead at the moment. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that will be out before Christmas, but we'll see. I'm not 100% sure on that yet, but I'm doing everything I can to make that happen. So I've got a meeting with my editor, so I've got to go, but I hope that this has been helpful to you. If you have a question that you want me to answer, please send it to hello@FionaLukeis.com.au and just put Friday Live in the subject line. Friday Live, question for Friday Live. If you want to book a chat with me, I will put the link below. If you want to find out about my Relatable program or anything else, you can book a chat with me via this link here. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. It's been awesome to spend this time with you. I look forward to catching up with you next Friday. Take care, everyone. Thank you, Shani, honey. Lots of love. Ciao.